up? We are here with another pre-show for another comic character of the week. There will be more than just me and Gary. Yeah, it's not real hard to figure out who the episode is
right
this week. But yeah, we are doing Ray Palmer, the Atom. Sal will be joining us momentarily. He was on his way home. He should be getting. He said he was going to be getting home right about 9, so he should be on soon. He was at a meeting for the Italian Cold Cut Society, of which he's the president of.
Is he the salami in chief?
yeah. And he since he started the organization, he had to be there. So he's on his way home from that, which with what I assume is a fine selection of cured Italian meats.
It must be.
And then Jamie, unfortunately, cannot be on tonight because he is sick with a sinus infection, but he assured me that he will be on Saturday.
Hopefully Ray Palmer didn't fly up in his nasal cavity and cause a problem.
Yeah, it flew up there and just beat the snot out of him.
There you go. I like to see what you did there. So I just texted Chris to let him know we're on because I have to do that. Mike, Chris, and I are going to hang out on Saturday. So good luck. Don't stay off the roads. We're coming to your town. I think we're going to Beyond Comics in Frederick, and then we will go to. Mike and I know a fella, Dave Wolf, that sets up at the shop shows, who has a comic set up at Timber Grove Traders, I think, is the Antique Mall in Hagerstown.
What's up, Wes? Wes.
Yes,
I can see the
meat platter now. Watch out for those meat platters, Wes.
Speaking of,
there, Chris. Now it's Ray Palmer tonight, not Rosie Palmer. I know how your decrepit mind works. I know that's exactly what you thought you were getting, but you're not. Ray Palmer, not Rosie.
So I'm sorry, I missed the end of it there. I was putting the stuff up. You said you're going to see a guy that does the shop shows.
Yeah, his name's Dave Wolf, and he sets up at Timber Grove Traders in Hagerstown. So Chris, Mighty Mike Harbor, and I will be three amigos barreling down the highways of Virginia and Maryland. Yep, we're excited to see you, Chris, but keep it in your pants. And we're gonna have a good day. There may be, if Chris behaves himself, there may be Krispy Kreme donuts involved. Yeah.
Are you guys gonna take another one of those awkward pictures that he likes to post on his Facebook?
You know what? I don't know. I every time I think that I'm done with those, we end up having another stupid picture. Rosie,
every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
So
where is it? You said you're going to Beyond Comics in Frederick.
Beyond in Frederick, and then we'll also go to Hagerstown.
Okay. Oh yeah, you are making the trek then.
And maybe we'll see. I haven't talked about this with Mike or Chris yet, but we may make a triangle and finish at 4-Color in Winchester. We'll see.
Oh, nice.
We'll see. Chris wanted to look at some back issues, looked at some long boxes, to sniff some 4-Color ink, and to hang out with me and Mike. So maybe that's what we do. We'll see. And it's also the Army-Navy game is on, I think, at 3 that day. So if we want to finish up here and watch some of that, Chris is a Army combat veteran, so he might be yay go Army. So.
Well, I mean, at least, being in Maryland, I got to root for Navy.
Yeah, well, I understand that. I understand a Maryland guy rooting for Navy, just like you understand a Army veteran rooting for Army.
So, oh, I get it. I mean, both of them had a good season. What Navy was?
Yes,
Navy was 8-3. Army's 11-1. Like they both had great seasons.
Aren't they both in the top 25? Aren't they both ranked? I think Navy's. I know Army's ranked, but I think Navy is too. Did Army make the playoff, the 12-team playoff?
Navy is not ranked. Army is 22, so I doubt they'll make.
So they didn't make the playoff. Okay. No. That's a shame. That would have been awesome. Oh, Chris. That's very
What's
funny.
up, Bougie?
Hey, Boosh. Oh, Jesus, Chris.
Yeah, go Army. Did I say that right?
Did I say that right? Just as long as we don't have Sergeant Rock saying "oorah," which is like
okay.
the dumbest things I ever read in comics.
So, what do you think about the news that they're looking at Daniel Craig to play Sergeant Rock?
Okay, I would rather it be a Yank. I'd rather it be an American, but
he does do a good American accent.
He is a great actor, and he did that great World War II drama where he played, where he and Liv Schreiber were the brothers of the Polish resistance, the Jewish Polish resistance that were camping up in the woods and doing guerrilla warfare against.
Oh, yeah. I know I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
Very much based on true story. So that was a hell of a drama. So there's no doubt in my mind that he can play the character. It's just for national pride. Maybe I would like to see an American playing that. But Daniel Craig, if he's Sergeant Rock, will do a hell of a job. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I remember when they were casting Captain America before they picked Chris Evans, and I don't even remember the actor's name, but one of the ones they were talking about was some British actor. I was like, you can't get a British guy to play Captain America. I don't care above any other, character. Iron Man, Hulk, Hawkeye, Black, above any
Captain America needs to be an
character. It's Captain America. He's got to be American.
To a lesser extent, that's the way I feel about Sergeant Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Chris. He might be a touch too old. I hear you there. So
then again, Band of Brothers had a bunch of British guys playing American troops in it. So
Damian Lewis was phenomenal.
He was so good. And Tom Hardy, when you rewatch it, you forget how many actors that are like big stars now were either in that like just small parts or major parts, but it's like, there's Tom Hardy. Completely forgot he was in this. Like
completely naked in it too.
Yeah, or Jimmy. There's one scene with Jimmy Fallon. Like you got someone better than Fallon. I do not like Fallon.
Michael Fassbender.
Yes, Fassbender was good in it.
Had a small part in it.
Yes.
For my money, my favorite TV show of all time is Twilight Zone, but. Band of Brothers is different. It's a miniseries, but that's probably my favorite miniseries ever, and one of the greatest things I've ever seen on TV. And Band of Brothers took directly from Ambrose's book, and it's a wonderful book for anybody that hasn't read it. And everything in it is factual. What they showed in Band of Brothers was great. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, like Hoover getting killed by a Luger that he was keeping for a souvenir, went off and shot him through an artery and killed him. I mean, the fact that, I forget the guy's name, but the dude that probably stole, the dude from Wyoming that probably stole Hitler's diaries.
Oh, yeah.
Disappeared. And then the fact that Spears, who I loved, I thought Spears was fantastic. Spears was a world-class looter. And when he got to Butcher's he raided the German officers' homes and took a lot of great stuff. Like the show Night Gallery, Gary. Oh, yes. Booge, Night Gallery was really, really cool. It was a little darker tone. I love that Serling was on it. But Twilight Zone was where he hit his stride. Serling won 5 Emmys, 2 for Twilight Zone, 3 for other productions like Patterns, Requiem for a Heavyweight, which, them's my boys, 101. Requiem for a Heavyweight was the greatest role I ever had. I played the lead in that, Mountain McClintock, and I have a review from the Washington Post that said that show that we punched like a champ, and that gave me a positive review. So no matter what happens, I have that glowing review from the Washington Post, and I had the lead in that show, and it was my honor to recite Rod Serling's words. I tell you what, I know I've tried to think of an American actor that I think could really be a gritty Rock, and
it's tough because the character's got like to be age appropriate, he's got to be mid to late 20s, but he also has to be, look like he's kind of grizzled too.
There were guys that joined up that were in their 30s. He was a steel worker. So Rock traditionally was a steel worker who's going to look a little bit older, right? Yeah, they were.
But he can't be he's right. Like Craig's probably too old.
And this guy may be too old, but he sure looks a lot youthful. And he can be dirty and gritty on occasion. And that's Brad Pitt. Pitt was pretty gritty in Fury, I think the name of it was, a World War II movie. He was kind of scarred up. He was, I thought he was great in Inglourious Bastards. So I think Pitt can play gritty. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, God, he won an Oscar for that. He was fantastic. So I think Pitt could do it.
I'll tell you the guy that I would like, and he might be a little older, but he was also in Band of Brothers. Michael Cutlass, who was in that, and he was in he played Abraham in Walking Dead. He just finished playing Lex Luthor on Superman and Lois. I think he would be a good Rock.
You think he'd be a better Rock or better Bulldozer?
Yeah, he might be a better Bulldozer.
Now, as far as a younger guy, the dude that played Hawk in the Teen Titans, he would be a great Bulldozer for his size.
Mm-hmm. Twilight Zone does do this. My mother-in-law loves Twilight Zone. You're right. He could, Rock could be in his mid-30s.
Yeah, I think so too. So Booge,
who would you cast as Snoop?
Who would you cast him? He's just asking. So Twilight Zone, my favorite show. One of the other co-owners of Comic Logic, Kurt, we have usually once a month we have a Twilight Zone night at his house, and I curate the episodes, and it is a fantastic night. We go there, we watch 3 or 4 of them, and we talk about them afterwards, and especially talk about the influence, because when we watch an episode afterwards, you say, well, that's like this or like that, and you see all these shows and all these things that were heavily influenced by Twilight Zone. So I think it's a phenomenal show. I think it's an influential show, and for those that haven't watched it, it is amazing. So I own every episode. I have a box set of it, and it is amazing. The writing, oh my God, the great writers, Serling and Beaumont and Masterson, just phenomenal writing on those shows. And Serling's narrations are wonderful bits of writing. So just love that show. Love it, love it, love it.
I was gonna say too, for Sergeant Rock, you know what? If you're gonna do it, just get Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg to make it. I know that Spielberg circled around Blackhawks for a long time, but you talk about Spielberg and Tom Hanks and World War II, Band of Brothers, The Pacific, Saving Private Ryan wasn't directly based on a true story, but might as well have been, because there's no historical inaccuracies in it.
Well,
that's not a bad pick, Chris.
Thomas Jane is not a bad pick, Chris.
That's pretty good. He's a bit older.
I'm with Chris. I like that.
Yeah, I could see him, and that's the problem. Like, all the actors I think of that would be good Rocks would be guys that you would have to cast a role in like 15 years ago. Thomas Jane would be a good one. Josh Brolin would probably good, but he's 50.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I hope. Like I said, I think Craig could do it. I just would rather it be an American. Another Brit that would be a great Rock is Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I was thinking that Tom Hardy. Maybe they'll cast. Now that he's all buffed up for Craven, maybe they'll cast Aaron Taylor Johnson.
A Fassbender could be a great Rock.
Yeah, Fassbender would be good too.
Oh, you know what? Maybe Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the guy. Or what's Clint Eastwood's son's name? Scott Eastwood. He'd be good.
Eastwood Norris, or is it something like that? Yeah. Scott Eastwood. I think it's Scott Eastwood.
Yeah,
maybe him. but Jake Gyllenhaal has gotten buffed out for movies and all that. I think he could play Rock, and he's a hell of an actor.
Yeah. You know who would make a good bulldozer is and again he's older, a bit older at this point, but Alan Ritchson, that plays Reacher. That guy is a human tank.
Is he the guy that played Hawk in the Titans?
Yes.
That's who I mentioned him earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
The dude, because that's the dude. The one that played Hawk in the Titans would be a big dude for him. Body type for bulldozer all the way.
Yeah, he would be good, and like especially now because I mean he's always been a buff guy, but you especially see him now in if you've watched Reacher, and that guy is just inhumanly muscular. Like if they were to cast him as someone like Colossus, you wouldn't need any CGI to make him look bigger. You just put some silver body paint on him and paint some lines going across, and you're good to go. Oh, what's your favorite episode for Twilight Zone?
Okay, so So I'll give you a couple that I really really love, and then I'll give you my favorite one, which isn't everybody's favorite. Absolutely right, Chris. So Time Enough at Last with Burgess Meredith is the
glasses, yeah.
And he survives the Holocaust in a bank vault. His wife is a witch, and his boss is a pain in the ass, and he's got time enough at last to read. And of course, the tragedy happens that he can't read anymore. In case anybody has I don't want to ruin it for people that might not have seen it. And then The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which is a really interesting episode where it's so true to life on how we turn on one another. All of a sudden, power goes off on this, during the middle of a flying saucer scare. Power goes off in this neighborhood, and then all of a sudden, the people turn on one another, and somebody's got power. And they say, "Well, why do you have power?" And they start blaming each other. Yep, I think Scott Eastwood is a good choice, Dan, and Chris. So they start blaming one another. The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, and we're the monsters again.
Yeah,
that's a great episode. Of course, Eye of the Beholder is a great episode, but and To Serve Man.
yeah.
My favorite though it's a Jack Klugman episode, and it's called Passage for a Trumpet. And Jack Klugman is a down on his luck musician that hawks his. He's an alcoholic. He's down on his luck, and he hawks his horn at a pawn shop, and he just realizes he's hit rock bottom, and he jumps in front of a truck, and then he gets hit, and then he gets up, and he's walking around, and people aren't interacting with him, and as it comes to fact, he is in a state between life and death, and he hears this great horn playing, and he goes toward it. And there's a fella dressed to the nines, the actor John Anderson dressed to the nines, and he's playing the trumpet. And Klugman's character Joey's going, "Wow, you're really good," And they start talking about the music, and the guy says, "Well, Joey, you were good too. You had a lot of talent too." And he starts rehashing his life. He goes, "I know, but I needed to drink, and I just threw it away." And the guy says, "Well, maybe it's not so over." Yeah, absolutely. And he said, and the horn player is telling him that maybe it's not too late for you. You can go back. You got a chance to make it right, Joey. And he's got the pep talk. He's got what he needs. He's not ready to give up on life, and he's going to go back and do it. And as he walks away, he turns back away to the horn player, and he says, "Wait a minute, I didn't get your name. And John Anderson is standing in a backstage area, and one of those great big Klieg lights is above him. Looks like a halo. He says, "My name? It's Gabe. Short for Gabriel." And he walks away. And Klugman gets his horn out of hock and has a new lease on life. And it's just, I love redemption. The Grave is a great one. Talking Tina tells Telly Savalas, "I'm going to kill you."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the one? I forget the name of it. Um, the one that's one of the most recognizable ones is the Shatner episode on the wing.
He did too. He did,
Yeah.
and that may not be his best one. But the Nightmare at 20,000 feet
Yes.
is the one on the wing, and his acting, he was great in that. Great tension in that. The other one's called Nick of Time, where he's got a promotion and he's got neurosis, and he's at a little diner, and it's got one of these little fortune telling devils, and he gets obsessed where he has to keep feeding it pennies and asking it questions, and he's obsessed and he's losing his mind over everything this devil tells him. So that was a really cool psychological one too. But yeah, I love the redemption. Klugman was on 4 episodes. They were all really good. The other one that was great he was on was called A Game of Pool with Jonathan Winters, and that was phenomenal. But Booge, I'm sorry you're not in the area, man, because I think you would fit right in a Twilight Zone night, baby. Yeah, the diner episode. That's the one, Nick of Time.
Might have to make it up to one of them. But I was gonna say, what's the one? And I can't remember the name of it. It's one of the rare ones, like the one you were just talking about, the Klugman one. One of the rare ones that actually had kind of a happy ending. It's the one where the young couple, I think they're newlyweds, or the young couples on the cruise ship, and there's all the oddities going on, and then at the end of it, they get to leave the ship, and it turns out that everybody that's on the ship is dead.
It's a doomed liner, and they should.
Yes.
And the newlyweds should not have been there in the first place.
Yes.
And I tell you what, that is a rarity because that's one of the hour-long episodes. Season 4 were hour-long episodes. All the others were half-hour, 1 through 3, and season 5. The reason season 4 were hour-long episodes was because Twilight Zone was not renewed after the 3rd season. So CBS had a drama in its place. The drama failed. And CBS called Serling up and said, "Hey, could you give us some more Twilight Zone episodes? But it's got to be an hour long." Oh, can't. You know what? Props to your mom, Booge. Props to your mom. Or as I used to say on Saturday Night, word to your mother. Props to her, though. So those hour-long episodes weren't shown in syndication because they were an hour long. So those are rarities. You have to see them on like Sci-Fi or something like that. Yep. Oh, Booge, I wish you were, because Booge, you're West Coast, aren't you, baby?
You'll have to live stream those too.
Well,
now, what are your thoughts on the movie? Because I think the movie, while there's some good stuff in it, it's overshadowed by the
tragedy, a terrible tragedy. I think it's a shame because I think the movie is really good, and they had to alter that ending on that movie, on that particular episode of that. But the underlying tragedy is, God, I can't remember. I'm blanking on his name right now. But that actor and those 2 Vietnamese children were killed by that helicopter crash. The blade sliced them, which was terrible. And
there was a lot. There were changes.
Vic Morrow was the
Vic Morrow, yes, and there were changes that came out of that with what they on movies, with what they were allowed and not allowed to do with children on movies.
Yeah, I believe the children's parents were on set too and witnessed that.
Yeah, and it was the whole thing that John Landis in his arrogance was like, "It's going to be fine. We just got to get this one shot." And John Landis has gone on to direct. He's directed a lot of classics, but and Eddie Murphy really, after that too, Eddie Murphy really saved his career when he got him to come direct Coming to America, because no one really wanted to touch John Landis much after that. But man, I'm surprised that he did not suffer more consequences.
That was terrible, and it's a shame too because the movie was really good, and the opening and closing. Yeah, we were, Chris, absolutely. The opening, Vic Morrow, the opening and closing sequences were really great in that movie too. Dan Aykroyd and Albert Brooks. Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd, and then at the end, again, a little callback to the beginning. That was fan. You want to see something really scary? Oh, so good, so good. Oh, and then it faded into the at the beginning. So freaking good.
Have you
Cold
watched,
open. It was a cold open, is what it was.
have you watched the Jordan Peele?
I have not, but I think I have it. I think I have the streaming thing. Somebody was telling me because I stream, and I've heard it's good.
I only watched an episode or two because I only had the streaming service on for a little bit, but I liked it. Now, I've been meaning to ask you, since you got that Disney card for Christmas, did you watch The Mandalorian yet?
Okay, so let me say this. I watched the X-Men cartoons, were great. I watched the first episode of The Mandalorian, and it did absolutely nothing for me.
Really?
Yep.
You should give it a few episodes.
Rob gave me the advice that if the first one didn't do anything for you, the rest of it probably isn't either. And it's a shame because I wanted to love what Brendan Wayne was doing, But
I mean, I was hooked right from the beginning, and then as the show goes on, especially as they start bringing more Star Wars stuff into it, because the first episode, like, it's Star Wars, but it doesn't deal with as much of the greater Star Wars universe. But when they start bringing in, more stuff from it, like all other characters that were already established, and some of that, especially the was it the season finale of the first episode of the first season? Whew. No, not the first. The season finale of the second season, where they had Luke Skywalker show up. Man, that was badass.
So Mark Hamill was in the Mandalorian show.
Well, they did the thing where they got the body double to do CGI. All this stuff, and then they like de-aged Hamill, okay. And then superimposed his face on him, and then got Hamill to do the dialogue. It seems like a lot when they could just cast Sebastian Stan, because he freaking looks exactly like a young Mark Hamill.
Well, Hamill looked differently, and then he was in a terrible motorcycle accident.
Yeah, that's why they wrote into Empire, with him getting the scar, because between Star Wars and Empire, he was in that motorcycle accident where he got the scar.
Yeah,
man, I really thought that you would dig The Mandalorian, because it's especially when it's got all that Western flair.
I know. Maybe I'll try it again. I just it did nothing for me. Diane didn't like it either, so we didn't go with it. And I know I've kind of gotten soured over Star Wars on the years, because the last three in the nine movie set were so bad. And
I thought the first one they did, episode 7, when they introduced all of them, I thought that one was good. And then the next one, I was like, some stuff is good, some stuff isn't great, it's okay. And then the last one, I was just like,
I'm still trying to figure out how they had a cavalry charge with horses on top of a spaceship in outer space.
Yeah.
I mean, am I missing something there? Isn't there supposed to be oxygen for that? I mean, is there how does that happen?
Yeah, like I said, I really liked the first one when they did it. It was The Force Awakens. I was like, all right, I'm in. This is good. And then they brought Rian Johnson in for the second one, who's like, who's took all the stuff they were starting to establish. It was like, nah, I'm going to do something else. It's like, oh man, this kind of
Luke's throwing
cool scenes, but this is not great. And then they brought Abrams back for the last one. Like, all right, you got to clean everything up, and it just didn't make any sense.
I thought Abrams' reboot of Star Trek was so much better.
Yes, I really like that. But see, I like some of the, as much as people trash Disney for their Star Wars stuff, some of it is like the Acolyte was just terrible. But, the Clone Wars was great. I really loved Solo, was the Han Solo movie. I thought that was great.
I don't know that I saw that. I know I saw Rogue One, and that was good.
Rogue One is fantastic. That's one of the best. I'd put that one up there with the original trilogy for how good it was. Oh, there we go.
Wow, there's the man.
Hey.
But what else? The Mandalorian I love. I thought the Obi-Wan movie series was okay. I thought the Ahsoka series was decent. Disney stuff is hit or miss, but everyone seems to forget how much they hated the prequels when they came out. And now it's, oh no, the prequels were great. Like, I was there when the prequels came out. The prequels
Prequels are not
sucked.
great. Yeah,
The first
they were
one,
horrible.
yeah,
Jar
like,
Jar.
oh god. But like, yeah, you had cool stuff with Darth Maul, and you had, Sam Jackson, and you had Qui-Gon Jinn, and and Ewan McGregor was amazing as a young Obi-Wan, and you ruined it all by like, oh, let's cast a cute little kid to be Anakin, and then we're gonna cast a terrible actor to be Anakin when he's older, and
And we're gonna make Jar Jar Binks. Yep.
Misa no understand why they no like me.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very. I watched the first 2 episodes of the new show, The Skeleton Crew, and the first 2 episodes I absolutely loved. It's
Same.
It's like the Goonies if they were in a Star Wars movie.
Well, Chris has given me great recommendation. I haven't seen it yet on Creature Commandos. He loves what he's seen so far.
See, I don't have HBO Max, so I haven't seen that.
Yep. And Chris tells me that my gal pass. Chris tells me that
I'm ready.
the best thing is one of the best things is GI Robot is just all he wants to talk about is how he's killing Nazis. That's good in my book.
Yeah, worked for me.
Kill some of them Nazis.
I think I'm gonna have to sign up for like a HBO Max for 1 month at some point when I have time, because I want to watch that. I watched like the first half of Blue Beetle. I want to finish that. Even though I heard they're not great, I want to watch the Crisis on Infinite Earths animated movies. I want to finish watching the final season of Titans. I want to finish watching the final season of Doom Patrol. I want to finish the final season of Young Justice. Like, there's all this stuff I want to see that's on there.
I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to Young Justice, because when that cartoon was on, 10 years ago, that was phenomenal.
I didn't like it as much I loved it when it was first on, and when they brought it back, I thought it lost kind of some of the magic, because I thought there was just, when they brought it back, for me, it was just a little too much going on with too many characters.
Yeah.
All right, guys, are you ready to start?
Let's do it.
Ready for half an hour, sir.
Oh my goodness
You're
gracious!
talking about the Twilight Zone and
what? I thank you for holding the fort down for me.
and who we think should play Sergeant Knox.
Listen, I'm not going to name names, but somebody said you were at some kind of Italian convention and that you were the chief salami. It was Italian. Was an Italian lunch meat convention, and you were
the large spicy salami.
Well, Gary said you were the chief salami. I just said that you were at the was it the Italian cold cut convention or something, or the Italian cold cut meeting, and you had to be there because you were the as you started the organization.
The salami in chief is what I said.
Salami in chief.
Salami in chief.
I like it. You were going to be coming home with a fine selection of cured Italian meat.
Yeah, the only thing that trumps that is the kielbasa in chief, I guess.
Kielbasa in chief. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and
Booge,
kick the sucker
right.
off. Yes, Booge, that's right. So we'll see you guys in about a minute as we do the official kickoff.
Thanks for hanging with us, guys. Appreciate the talk.
Yes, appreciate that.
production. Wow, look at
You
that.
outdid yourself.
That was Dan's idea. I wanted to do it, but then Dan was like, "You got to have him coming out of the phone."
Nice,
Yeah, Lonnie.
Chris.
That's right,
Nice.
Chris.
Okay. With cell phones now, would the Atom be able to do that or no, because they're not connected to the phone lines?
Well, he would, because if you remember in one of the stories, he traveled through like a satellite phone or something, and he showed up and he's like, "Oh, I can't do that again." And then in the Suicide Squad, when it was Adam Cray, did the same thing when he had to show up to save Amanda Waller, and he went through like the satellite phone, and then he had like, it hurt him real bad. And when he was in the hospital, he says Ray Palmer told me not to do that because it takes a toll on your body. So he can do it, but you won't like it.
All right.
The other thing that's bad now, with if you travel through the phone lines, he's eventually going to come through the phone line. Somebody's going to be sitting on the shitter, and that's going to be bad.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and kick this off. Dan, will you go ahead and give us the intro for the Atom?
Yes. So the Atom is Ray Palmer, the second character to go by that name. He first appeared in Showcase number 34 in October 1961, created by Julius Schwartz, Gardner Fox, and Gil Kane. Now, I made a note of this, and let me make sure I pull it up, because it's interesting on it that there was, when they were talking about, when they were rebooting all the Golden Age characters, when they did the new Flash and they did the new Green Lantern, and it was very much, DC taking their Silver Age or their Golden Age characters and making Silver Age versions that were more science fiction related, because that was big at the time.
That was Julie Schwartz's wheelhouse.
Yes.
That's what he did, that editor. Yep.
So there was a fan that had wrote in, this guy named Jerry Bales, who's a big, well-known fan, who had written into DC with a proposal for how they could, after they brought back Flash and Green Lantern with the new ones, on how they could do a new update Al Pratt. Interrupt, some dude's playing Angry Birds. Oh, if he jumped out of my phone while I was playing Pokemon Go and messed up a throw, I'd be pissed. You're right, Booge. You're definitely going to talk about that later. I love the Adams costume.
Me too.
But so this guy Jerry Bales wrote in, and it, and it got all the joke up to Julie Schwartz, because people knew who he was, because he was a big time, well-known fan, about a way to update Al Pratt, where they would give him power, shrinking powers and that, and it, got passed on. But, apparently they had already, Fox and Kane had already started working on this new Atom, and Gardner Fox actually wrote to Bales to tell him, yeah, we're actually doing a new Atom character, and it's kind of similar to what you're to what your idea is, but not exactly. And we've got this costume design working on that. So, I thought that was something interesting. And the name
Bales started one of the first fanzines
yes.
ever. That's how big a fan he was that he started it. So he is very famous, and was, I think, influential in starting the first New York Comic Con, where people started meeting.
Yeah. And the name Ray Palmer is actually an homage to a science fiction magazine editor that was well known, named Raymond A. Palmer.
I did not know that. Great.
So Ray Palmer was a physicist. Now his origin has been retconned a little bit since he first appeared in Showcase. It's essentially still the same. There's just been a little bit added in. So Ray Palmer was a physicist and professor at Ivy University, which is, a fiction, Ivy Town, a fictional town somewhere in the New England area.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever specifically said where, but just in that general area.
New England, yeah.
Yeah. Doing experiments that involve shrinking matter to combat overpopulation and world hunger. One night, he found the remains of a white dwarf star, which I'm sure that they used just because it had the word dwarf in it. And he incorporated into his experiments But the problem he was having was every time he would shrink something down, it would become unstable and it would explode. So, so it wasn't something that he was really able to do. So there he takes some of his students and his girlfriend, Jean Loring, who was a lawyer, on this spelunking trip, and there's a cave in and they get trapped down there, and he realized, his experiments, what he would do was he had this lens that he made, and he would shine, this light through it, and he had the white dwarf star in it, and would shine it through that onto something, and that's what would shrink it. So he goes off to explore to try and find a way out. And he finds a small hole. He's like, it's too small for him to get up in. So he sets the lens up and has the light hit it, and he stands under it so the beam hits him and shrinks him down. And he knows he has a limited amount of time before he becomes unstable and explodes. So he has the engagement ring that he was using to propose to Jean Loring with, because he would propose to her all the time and she'd say no. And he used that to like pick away at this hole until he makes it big enough that they can get through. And then when he goes and gets back under the ray and enlarges himself, he finds that he did not explode, and there was some cave water that had gotten on the lens, and he thinks, well, maybe there's something with that has affected it. So he goes back to his lab with the cave water on there, tries to shrink something else. It's still unstable. It still explodes. So he realizes it's something with his physiology. So he fashions the white dwarf star into his belt buckle, creates the Atom costume, and then becomes the Atom. Now they retconned it a little bit, where there is a professor that was like his mentor, that where he didn't just stumble upon this meteor, but they were tracking it. They've added that. I think they changed it where it wasn't a spelunking trip, but it was some firefighters that were trapped, and his father and his older brother were firefighters. So that's where he goes. And they've changed a couple of things, but it's still essentially the same. And then as for his power, he can alter his size. Initially it was through his belt, and then eventually he just had the power himself. He could control it with his belt or with mechanisms in his gloves. He can also alter his mass. So when he's small, he can control it where he can hit with a punch with full power that could, break through concrete, but he could also make himself light enough where he could just float on the air. He can shrink others down with him, but they would always become unstable if he didn't put them back at their normal size within an hour. And then he also, later on gained the ability to grow giant as well, though he rarely does it. He's also a world authority in physics and a master of engineering, and holds 4 PhDs, which is one less than Gary. And he's also in peak physical condition, and he's a skilled fighter, after training for years with guys like Batman and Hawkman. But he mostly does judo and boxing, and is pretty good with swordsmanship as well. And he's just got, as Bougie said, he's just got a badass costume.
Great costume.
Absolutely. That is so true.
And the belt was not part of the costume that Gil Kane designed. It was the costume without that, and then it was either Fox or Schwartz. One of them had him put the belt in because they felt like it needed the belt to kind of break up the all the red in the costume, and to give him the controls for it. And Gil Kane was not a fan of it because he didn't like it breaking up the design.
I like it.
I do too. I love it. I think the belt fits. I love the colors, color scheme. I love the design of it. It's simple, yet classic.
And the belt has the Atom symbol on it.
Yes. And just like on the on the
cow.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right, Dan, thanks for that. That's a good intro. Let's go ahead and jump to our next segment, which is what works best for us. And I'll go first on this one. I'm pretty simple on this one. I like the fact that he's a physicist or a scientist first. He always likes to try to figure out the things, what's going on first. He's not one of those, hey, I'm ready to jump in the fight and throw some haymakers, which he can do. And that's another part I like about him as well, but I'll tell you in a minute. But he always wants to figure out or solve the situation first before he actually gets into the fight or tries to figure things out. He wants to figure things out first before he fights. So the other thing I like about him is when he is fighting, he's always using his surroundings. He's always like swinging off a guy's tie. He's swinging off a bell. He's doing something, using his surroundings to help him fight. And that's just pretty awesome. And it's practically on every cover of the Atom. He's doing something. If he's fighting, he is using something as leverage to fight that battle. And I think that's probably just how his mindset thinks, because he's using, his power or something as a leverage to gain advantage. So that's what I like best on that. So Gary, what works best for you?
I like it when he is the JLA's resident scientist.
Yeah,
and he's their go-to guy, and he's not just the scientist that can break down the nuts and the bolts of things. He's also a problem solver. Where he can look at a situation and have really great strategy and determine the weakness and a point of attack. So he's brilliant in that way. I mean, he's not a classic field strategist like Captain America is, but he is a classic strategist in finding the weak points in a situation. So and I love the fact that the League has got Batman, a great detective. Along in the League, you had Ralph Denby, of the Elongated Man, who's also a great detective. And you have guys like Superman. You got battle technicians like Wonder Woman, but they all understand that Ray Palmer is the go-to guy that deserves respect because of what he brings to the table, where he is not the most physically imposing, but what he does nobody else can do. Whether it is shrink to subatomic particles and get into a room or a situation, or even into an enemy's body if he needs to. He does something no other leaguer can do. So so what he adds mentally and physically, I think is pretty unique, and it's awesome. And I think it was a great redo of the Golden Age Atom. I think he's a great character. And interestingly enough, it was 1961 in September when Showcase 34, which, who owns it? Oh, yeah, I do. Showcase 34 came out, and I believe it was the beginning of September in 61, 3 weeks before Tales to Astonish 27 came out, which was the Anthill, which introduced Pym. Though Pym, Ant-Man, was not in costume. It was just a guy got shrunk down into an anthill. But it's just funny how those books came out the same month. And then it wasn't until issue 35 of Tales to Astonish where the Ant-Man hero was born. So it's just funny, it's just really interesting that those two came out in such quick succession. But yeah, Ant-Man works best as the Justice League of America's go-to guy for science and for problem solving.
Yep. I was actually wondering who came first between Ant-Man and him, but I didn't get a chance to research it. So thank you.
Well,
very much for that.
they all, of course, you go back to Doll Man for the first pint-sized hero. Though Doll Man didn't shrink down to real tiny sizes like that. He was just, he had the 6-inch size or whatever.
Right.
Robert Palmer. Yeah, he was addicted to love, from what I heard, Chris.
I heard that too. It was simply irresistible.
It was simply irresistible. Yeah.
All right, Dan, how about you? What do you like best?
Yeah, you guys covered it. I mean, he's, he calls himself, even in some of the stories, he calls himself the science superhero, because that's what he is. He's a scientist first. And, even sometimes when the JLA is trying to get him to come back, he's like, I'm not interested in doing that anymore. During the Grant Morrison run, they were trying to get him to come back. And he's like, look, I'm not interested. Like, I'm a scientist. I'm a professor here. I'll go out and do, the Atom stuff occasionally, but, when I want to. But he didn't want the responsibility of doing it all the time. And then, it turns out that, they still need him. and all the students find it pretty badass having a superhero, because at that point his identity was publicly known. They like having a superhero as their professor. But yeah, it's that he uses science, and he does it all the time when he's especially in some of those early appearances, when he's talking about like, oh, I can adjust my mass, so I can just so I'm not gonna fall in this flame, and I'll hit become light and as air and go here, and some of the stuff that he does. I also I love it when he's in the league, man. He's just got that little chair when they're all sitting at the meeting table, and he's got the little Adam chair.
What's up?
I have a figure of him in the chair, but it's in my case where if I touch things are going to fall. And I was like, I couldn't risk because I have a Justice League table and they're all sitting around it. And I have a little Adam figure sitting in the chair, and I was going to have him out, but it's not worth me touching that table and making all things fall. But it's so cool. I think you all have seen it.
Yes.
Where I have it. But that is like one of my favorite little figures. So cool.
Very cool.
He's teamed up with the JSA a lot, but he's not been a member of them.
Oh, Booze, you're talking Chris's love language there when you're talking about the JSA, the best team. Yes, sir.
But yeah, just having the little chair there, because originally, remember, which I always thought this was and again, it's the Silver Age, or some goofy stuff, but I always thought that this was a stupid thing. I'm glad they did away with it, where he had the costume on when he shrank, but then when he grew full size, his costume magically disappeared and his regular clothes came on. I'm glad they got rid of that, where it's like he's in costume. If he's full size, if he's small, whatever, he's got the suit. But because I always thought that was a little goofy. But yeah, I love him, being on the league. There's a line it's actually in Young Justice, when we were talking about it earlier, where the league's sitting around the table and they're going through people that they want to ask to join the league, and it comes up with the Atom, and Batman's the one that wants him to join. And I think I can't remember, it might have been No, it couldn't have been Flash. I forget who it was, but one of the members are like, "What good?
What does he bring? Yeah.
What does he bring? What good is he going to do? The only thing is he can shrink." And Batman says that's exactly what he brings. Ray Palmer said, in some of the issues, is like, look, Batman, Mr. Terrific, Superman. He was like, they're all as smart as me, but it's not just being smart; it's the problem-solving skills that he really has too. And I love seeing him with the league, and I love seeing him team up with Hawkman, because the two of them, you would think would be like, would be so opposite, that that Ray is a scientist, and it's about it's not about going in fist first. It's about thinking through the problem and doing that, whereas Hawkman is just, I'm going to hit the guy in the face with a mace.
Hit the guy as hard as I can. Yeah.
Well, when they first cultivated that friendship, Hawkman was more, again, he was he was from the planet Katar. Kadar Hall was from the planet Thanagar, and he was a cop, but he also had a science background too. So it made more sense. They made Hawkman, they leaned, in more modern years, they've leaned more heavily into him using the medieval weapons and things like that, and him being more of a savage. So,
with the archaeologist stuff.
Right. So, but that's more with the Carter Hall Hawkman. Yeah. The Katar Hall Hawkman, where that friendship was formed, was the Thanagarian Hawkman, and they had more of a background that related. But as the character morphed, they kept the friendship, but the original reason they were together more, were bound together thematically, doesn't really exist so much now.
Right.
And and really the reason for that too, it's because it's not, I don't think that it came about organically. It was DC doing it because they had Hawkman, who, even though he's a great character, was not super popular on his own book. And same thing with the Atom, was not super popular. So they combined the two of them together in the book. And then it only ran, it didn't run much longer.
How About 5 or 6 issues.
Yeah.
The Hawkman ran. Here's something I'm going to throw us for a loop in.
All right.
So, you know who Shrinking Violet is? I know Dan does.
Yeah.
Violet.
She
Not.
predates Ray Palmer.
Oh.
Shrinking Violet appeared in Action Comics 276 and May 1961. So May, and he appears in September. So Shrinking Violet had them beat. Legion of Superheroes. Where's that damn Sonny? Legion of Superheroes, baby.
See, you should have watched the
I know,
podcast last night when we did the the 5 statements thing. My fifth one was "Long live the Legion."
What'd he say?
He just was like, "Yeah, I'm not." Gonna... And yeah,
Yes.
you're right, Booge. Hawkman's origin was confusing. If you read his last series that Robert
Vendetti
did, he did something I never thought would be possible. He took all of the different things for Hawkman's origin, all the different variations, put them together and made it make sense. It's the Carter Hall, it's the Qatar, it's the stuff where they alluded to them being in the old West, and all the rebirth stuff with them, and he made it make sense where you look at where it's a retcon where you look at it and go, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And he had one issue in there which was a Justice Society issue. Oh my God, I would love to see Vendetti write a JSA.
Oh, that was so good.
I talked to him about that personally. He said, yeah, I would love to write JSA. So when you see one guy that does a one-issue JSA issue and it was so great, oh my God, just whetted my appetite for it.
And that series had a good ending in it too.
Yeah, well, it had a great ending to it.
Yes.
Had a great ending. And he told DC, he goes, "You're welcome. I fixed Hawkman for you."
Yeah.
That's what he told them.
Yeah. And then DC was like, cool, we're just not going to use him anymore then. Like,
yeah, I know.
But I know the next segment we always do is the badass moments, but Codex Station, we have some badass moments that are coming up too. Jamie said he's going. The interview I did with famous comic artist and all around great guy Barry Kitson, longtime artist on the Legion, is going to be put up, he said, on Monday.
Ooh, nice.
And also on Tuesday, December 17th, next Tuesday, Jamie is doing an interview with Omar from Near Mint Condition, the YouTube channel Near Mint Condition, who, he's got 1 or 2 followers.
Yeah, he does. He's the one that actually broke the CGC scandal with the slab issue.
Oh, is he?
And he, Jamie's going to be doing an interview with him that he's been working on setting up for a long time. I know he's psyched for that. And not this year, but the beginning of January, we are going to be doing the Codex Awards. And one of the things we're doing on the Codex Awards is we're giving away this Joker sketch cover that I did. Not only that I did the sketch cover, but you see some scribbles on here.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that is part of the Codex Station signed this.
Yep.
And, and some of them wrote little messages too.
Mm-hmm.
So
little messages are better than little massages.
Well, I don't know. Like, it depends.
The Atom could give you a little massage.
Yeah. So we are going to be announcing the winner of this cover giveaway on the Codex Awards. So make sure that you tune in for that. We will be mentioning it all the time between now and then. And, Jamie wanted me to make sure that I mentioned those on here. So there you go.
And whoever degrades themselves the most can win the book. Is that how it went?
Don't say that, because you never know what Chris is going to do.
Yeah, Chris will win hands down.
That's a good point. I'll find out Saturday. I'm hanging out with Chris all day Saturday with Chris and Mighty Mike Harbor. I may not be on the show Saturday night. I can't guarantee that I'll be intact after hanging out with those two jokers for a whole day.
Thank you, Booze.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris is going to start doing some Gigi Allen shit. You give him a challenge like that.
I don't know what Chris would do.
All right.
Oh yeah, there was an issue of Adam where it was him and
Two issues.
where it was that, and then there was also the stuff in
Blackest Night.
Oh no.
Already naked.
I was gonna say there was the issues of Blackest Night where Adam is is talking to Damage, who is Al Pratt's son.
Yep.
And that was some pretty cool stuff too.
Yep. All right,
maybe something of that will make someone's badass moments list.
Maybe so.
It may. So let's talk about badass moments. Do you want to go first?
Is
Dan?
that before what we don't like? When do we do what we don't like?
Oh,
That's
that is
after this.
after
Okay.
badass moments.
Okay.
All right.
But
So
Dan, why don't you go first?
Yeah. All right. I'll go first. So the first one I got is from JLA 14. It is
First JLA when he joins. Yeah.
no. This is
the JLA series, not
Yeah,
just.
this is the Grant Morrison one. It's a story that takes place where Darkseid has won and all the superheroes are fighting this resistance. And of all the big badass
Rock of Ages
Yes.
is the storyline.
and of all the big badass characters, who is it that beats and kills Darkseid? Well, it's my man Ray Palmer.
Yeah.
How does Ray Palmer do it? Ray Palmer is like, oh yeah, so you're invincible and your skin and all that, but not completely. He shrinks down so small that he travels on a light beam through Darkseid's eye into his brain and just starts zapping the hell out of it and kills him. And then he's dead. That's how he kills Darkseid.
Nice. That was
Yeah.
one of mine as well.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Yep, 2936. Absolutely, Chris. In
Yep.
the Adam series. Yep.
Oh, were you talking
About
about?
the fights
Oh,
between Ray Palmer and Al Pratt.
Yep.
The team
Yeah,
ups.
I agree with you. Talking about Star Wars, Joe. Episode 1 did suck. It did have
Yes.
some cool stuff in it, though. Ewan McGregor was fantastic as a young Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon Jinn was a cool character and
Nielsen.
Darth
Yep.
Maul that they got rid of him too soon. But another one I got is also from JLA 27. Just
Let me do that one if you would.
okay.
That was my favorite. I've been waiting. I picked the character so I could do that moment.
All right.
If you don't mind, let me have that one.
Hey, I got like 6 moments here, so you can
Do
have that one. All right. Does anybody have Suicide Squad 62?
I do not.
Yeah, we're gonna play like Go Fish with badass moments.
Yeah.
So in Suicide Squad 62, they've been doing this story for about a year where Ray was not the Atom anymore, that he was presumed dead because there was an explosion in his house and they found a body, but it was too badly destroyed. But they assumed it was Ray because it had, signs of shrinking and growing for the body. So it wasn't actually Ray that died. Ray went into hiding, and then this guy named Adam Cray became the new Adam and started working as as someone for Suicide Squad as the new Adam. Well, he was doing it so that he could help Ray uncover these guys, because there was this group when the CIA had tried to recruit Palmer to be an asset for him because he had helped them out occasionally here or there, early in his career. And he found out that they were the ones that killed his lover, girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, and his tribe, that, these people that he'd been living with in Sword of the Atom, which, I know we'll be talking about that later. And the group of CIA agents, the way he gets his retribution is he shrinks them all down to his size, to action figure size, and then leaves them like that. So he's trying to uncover this group, and in Suicide Squad 62, they find them all, and they think that Cray is Ray. So one of them, this character, Black Snake, kills Adam Cray, thinking that it's Ray Palmer. And one of the guys shows up. He's like, "That's not Ray Palmer." He goes, "How do you know?" He's like, "Because I am." They had found one of them and captured him, and Ray had taken that guy's place. Well, Ray is furious that Black Snake has killed Adam Cray. And then, Black Snake had also killed the other, killed them, stole his belt, and then grew bigger and then crushed in his hand the last two members of this, little team there. So Ray's furious at this, starts just beating the brakes off of him. And then what he does is he shrinks him down to subatomic size, takes the belt back from him, and he's like, "You're not going to kill me. You're a hero. You don't do that." He's like, "Yeah, you're right." He's like, "I'm not going to." Shrinks him down to subatomic size, takes the belt from him, and goes, "I'm just going to leave you here." He's like, "What? No, you can't. You can't do that." He's like, "Oh, I'll come back for you eventually." And he never did. Someone else got a hold of him, killed him before he could. But I was like, that's bad as you want to talk about.
Yeah.
You want to talk about taking someone out of the picture while still not technically killing them. Woo, that's a rough one.
Yep. Definitely.
All right, now Sal, I think you might have one or both of these, so let me check. Do you have the one from Adam and Hawkman number 46 from Blackest Night?
Is that the one where he comes through the phone?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind. Then no.
You got all this. That's pretty good there, Chris.
He does have them all. Yep.
His meth lab look. He's not Walter White. So in the Adam and Hawkman 46, as Gary, when he showed off the in the showcase the other day, which you can go check out, when he showed off all the Blackest Night stuff, one of the cool things DC did was they took a bunch of series that had ended long ago and came back and did one more issue of each of them. One of them,
the Dead series,
the Dead series,
yeah,
was Adam and Hawkman 46, and in it, the Indigo Tribe gives Ray an Indigo ring, and because of his compassion, the amount of compassion he has for others, and the leader of the tribe, Indigo One, is like, "Look, I got to do this thing where it's going to save the day, but you need to protect me." And he goes, "Well, how do I do that?" And they said, "Well, the one of the powers of this ring is you can channel and use the powers of any other one of these lanterns." And she shows him by doing a red lantern thing and, vomiting red and killing these black lanterns. So he uses the Green Lantern power to defeat a bunch of these black lanterns. But the first one, the one I thought was really cool, was when he used the Orange Lantern one, which is the selfish one. And he goes, I want this. And is fighting the dead Hawkman and Hawkwoman, and he goes, "I want my friends back," and makes the big, Hawkman and Hawkgirl to fight them. And I thought that was just that was just kick ass.
That was pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
it was great.
And then there's one more. Do either one of you have the scene from Blackest Night number 4 when they're having a fight?
Blackest Night scene.
What's that?
Blackest Night number 4. It's not where he comes through the phone. It's another scene from it.
Is this where he goes into the ring itself? I forget which issue I have. I have that one.
He goes into something, but it's not the ring.
Okay.
It's the one when they're fighting, and Al Pratt is there, and he's, is one of the dead that have come back, and Ray shrinks down and goes into him, and then just expands and rips his body apart as he expands out of it, tearing him apart. I was like, damn, that's brutal.
Yeah. I had that as a backup because I figured somebody else would have that. All right. Is that your 3 then?
That's mine.
All right, Gary, why don't you go next? Because mine are kind of iffy. So okay. Go ahead.
Well, he also did that same move where he blew something up from within in JLA 142, where there was Steve Englehart is writing this issue of Justice League, and he also wrote a lot of the Avengers. And in it, there's a straight-up ripoff of Mantis named Willow, and a straight-up ripoff of Ultron named the Construct, who's chasing Willow. But the Construct is a mechanical entity, but he's taken over. He's animated this earthen I guess, this earthen body he has constructed, and Ray Palmer goes inside of him and blows him up the same way, where it's just expanding his body, where nobody else could get through the constructs, radio waves that were coming out of him. All the other JLA was held at bay, but Ray could shrink down and get it, but he blew it up from within. In Brave and the Bold 115, Batman is incapacitated and pretty much made brain dead by electrical charge, and he was trying to save this girl who was going to be a witness in a trial, and from gangsters. And he was set up, and he got hold with this lethal, what should have been a lethal dose of electricity. It's rendered him brain dead. Ray Palmer happens to be doing a speaking tour or doing a symposium at the hospital where they bring in Batman, and Ray realizes, he's a physicist. There's nothing he can do to bring him back medically, but the fact that Batman's body is still intact, he goes and shrinks down, and he gets a camera. He puts a camera on Batman's chest, and then he shrinks down into Batman's brain and reanimates Batman's body by hitting impulse centers in his brain. It was trippy. It was wild. So he's hitting these senses to make him get up, to move, to throw punches, to kick, and he's running all over his brain, hitting these different spots to control these different maneuvers. And he's got a handheld camera or he can, device where he can see what the camera sees. And he ends up as Batman's last case. He wants to save this girl so Batman can fulfill his last case. And as he gets to the point where the last bad guy's got the gal, has got a gun to her head, and Batman is there, and he's like, all of them are incredulous because we killed you, you got to be dead, but there's not enough time for him to do anything as Batman, so he just lets Batman fall forward, do a full facial on the ground, and what the gunman doesn't know is that flying out of Batman's ear canal is the Atom full speed and hits the dude, knocks him the hell out, and saves the girl. And Batman won his last case, or completed his last case. So what happens is the body is taken back, the Batman's body, who's still the body's still working, just the mind is gone. Take him back to the hospital, and then all this brain activity that Ray has made happen has kick-started his brain again. So it's kind of trippy, kind of goofy, but I think it's pretty badass that he it's kind of like those zombie insects, or that zombie fungus that invades the insects and makes them do things and react and catch other insects.
Yeah.
There's a what is it? This Is Us or The Last of Us?
Last of Us,
Yes.
I believe it is. Yeah.
Right. There's a real fungus that does that to insects, to certain insects, and make them act and do things, and gets them to help trap in other insects. So I just thought it was kind of trippy that he did that. Now the thing, when I picked Ray Palmer,
He made Batman a meat puppet.
he made him the meat puppet, is what he did. So one of my favorite scenes ever with Ray Palmer, and is one of the reasons why I wanted to pick him, and I thank you, Dan, for letting me have this one,
Oh yeah.
is in the aforementioned JLA 27, this great, this issue was in the Morrison run, but was not written by Morrison. It was written by Mark Millar. And I'll show you the cover for it, with Amazo there.
Yeah.
It's an Amazo issue. And the issue starts out where Wally, and continuing a thread that has been in the Morrison run, Wally and Kyle are going to Ivy University because they're trying to recruit him, trying to get him back. The team wants him to come back, and it's really cool. Because of funding, the university doesn't have room to build him his own wing, so the Atom has built himself a little subatomic wing where he can have an office, and he's got a little desk, and he's even told his kids that any of them, his students, any of them, that the answers to the exam he's giving are on the desk in his little micro lab. If any of them can get there, they can get the answers. And when Wally and Kyle are trying to get him to come back to the league, he goes, "No, I'm a scientist. I'm not coming back." He goes, "I have 4 students that have crushes on me. 3 of them are girls." So it's just he's well adjusted. It's fun. He doesn't want to do it. But what happens is Amazo gets reanimated and is running amok, and he is tearing the league a new asshole. So what does the league do? They start calling in all the reserves, everybody, and makes it like a Justice Battalion, a Justice League battalion. Well, every time, when all these reserves come in, all they're doing is adding gasoline to the fire and making Amazo stronger and stronger and stronger. So Ray comes in, Ray gets word from Oracle that he's needed. And Oracle says, Oracle's like, "I don't know what more you can do that they can't." And he says, and Ray says, "Relax. Figuring things out is what I do for a living." And so he gets on the battlefield, and he says he's spotted a chink in the armor, and he he gets to Superman, and he tells Superman something, and Superman says, "Thanks again, Ray." He goes, and Ray says, "Cause and effect, Superman, action and reaction, physics 101." So Superman rises to the top of this battle, and he's beat up. He's got a black eye, he's bleeding, and he says, "Listen closely, Amazo. As chairman, I hereby proclaim the Justice League of America is hereby disbanded." Goes Amazo's power. Nothing left.
What?
Yeah, look at here. He's shrinking. He's shrinking. Wasn't that George Costanza? Does she know about shrinkage?
Shrinkage.
We got some shrinkage here. Amazo was shrinking. He had gotten this superpowered god, and he shrinks because Superman disbanded the Justice League of America. As we all know, Amazo's powers is to absorb. His programming is to absorb the powers of the Justice League of America. Ergo, there is no Justice League of America. There go his powers. It's just I just think it's a brilliant little trick, right? It's just a brilliant little catch, and I just thought it was what a great idea, the germ for a story, right? And so Steel says, "Take away the fuel, and out goes the fire." Brilliant. And it's Superman's beat up, got his eye, and he says, "Adam, I've been thinking about offering you a seat at the table again. But after this experience, I think we can both see now how you could never contribute anything of value." And Ray says, "I was thinking the same thing." And then
who was it? Which one of the characters was like, "But wait, he just saved the day."
Yeah. Flash says, "But wait, I thought he just." Batman said, "Flash," and Batman says, "Look around you, Professor Palmer." And so all these Justice Leaguers are picking themselves off the ground, had their ass thoroughly kicked. And he says, "Look around." Batman says, "Look around you, Professor Palmer. The wounds you see might have been more permanent had you not been here. Don't forget, there are those beyond your campus who would benefit from your instruction." And Power Girl and Adam says, "Does everyone on the team still have to do monitor duty?" Batman says, "What do you think?" It's just great. "No, you don't have to do it, buddy. You got elevated status." But I just love that. What do you think? Yeah. And Adam says, "Well, since you put it that way." And Kyle says, "Hey, wait a minute. What do you mean they don't have to do monitor duty?" So the last page is brilliant. I want to read you the last page. So this is a voiceover by Ray. He goes, "Okay, it's only a part-time position as a JLA science consultant. I'm not rejoining my full-time superhero days are behind me. As for my new students, well, they're definitely of the graduate variety. Some, like Steele, could even teach me a thing or two about my own field of expertise, which is fine to me. Teachers should always learn something from their students. But here, the term papers push back the frontiers of reality. Here, the final exams decide the fate of the planet, and I'll do all I can to ensure they never get an F. But as for my costume, I'm just wearing it for their benefit, really. Night school on the moon, I doubt I'll have any fun there at all. It's all for their benefit, honest." And there he is in his little chair.
Yes.
Sitting in his little chair. I just think that is just fabulous. And this is the reason I read comic books, to have fun, right?
Yeah.
And that was just fun. The Atom kicked the ass through his mind of a hero that was wiping out. I mean, when we talk about powerful heroes, right? I don't know that there's a team more powerful than the Justice League. And when you have brought everybody else in to make the Justice Battalion, that is an unstoppable force. And there's one entity that is kicking their ass, and it's Amazo, because that's what he's programmed to do and absorb their powers. And this guy right here figures out the chink in the armor, how to counter the programming, and just go. And I just love it. I love the attitude. I love Superman and Batman say, "Come on, Ray, this is why we need you. This is what you have." And then you don't have to do monitor duty.
Yes.
And then there he is in his little chair. I'm not doing it for me. It's for their benefit. I'm just wearing a costume because it means something to them. I just love it. That to me, it makes me smile. And again, when I knew I was picking this character, I just couldn't wait to recount that story. And as I told, I could see Dan smiling. Dan remembered every incident. So Dan, thank you for letting me recount that, because that means so much to me. That to me is classic Ray Palmer, right?
Yes.
He's a scientist first. That's why he's there. He's not the superhero guy, but when it comes time to be the hero, he can kick ass with the best of them.
Right.
And he puffs his chest out a little and sucks it in a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
He deflects a little bit, but he's digging it too. I just think that is a perfect example of who Ray Palmer is.
And he was so calm and cool and level-headed during it. He wasn't like, "Oh my God, what do I got to figure this out?" I got this.
Figuring out things is what I do.
And it's cool. That one's cool too, I think, because it's an Adam-centric issue.
Yeah.
Without really being an Adam-centric issue. He's at the beginning of it and at the end, and then the middle of it's all JLA until they're like, "Oh my God, we need him." And he's like, "I got you."
And I love the joy that Batman and Superman took in cajoling him back onto the team. And especially Superman beat the hell, right?
Yeah.
Superman beat the hell, saying, "Yeah, Ray, I guess you're right. There's nothing you can add, is there?"
I wish I remembered what issue it was when the Atom is talking about, and it's just that he's like, Batman, Steel, Mr. Terrific, Superman. He's like, they're all as smart as me, and because that's something too with Superman, is people forget how smart he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's saying, he's like, Batman, Superman, all these guys are as smart as me. He's like, but it's the problem-solving skills, that is what puts him on a different level.
I think with powers and personality, he is a truly unique hero.
Yeah.
I think he's very unique with his powers and his intellect and his problem solving.
Okay. All right. So I guess we're
follow that up.
What's that?
I said, all right, Sal, follow that up.
I'm not going to follow that up whatsoever. On my notes, I lost my badass moments, but I've recovered some of them. One of them was the JLA 14 where he beats Darkseid, kills Darkseid, because that was just awesome.
Oh yeah,
riding the light beam with his eye back to his brain.
And let me recommend for everybody, Rock of Ages is a great read. When we finally do a Justice League show, Rock of Ages might be on that for my recommended reading.
Right. I want to bring up the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, because there was one episode with the Atom where a machine was landed on Earth and it was duplicating itself and getting stronger with each duplication.
Yes.
And they call in the Atom. Batman calls in the Atom, and he's like, "Superman, go get him." Bring him now, like that type of thing. Plus, the Atom gets to ride in the cleavage of.
I was going to say, didn't he get to ride in Wonder Woman's cleavage in that?
He did.
See,
he did.
I told you, Ray Palmer digs the job.
But in that episode, he actually was showing off the more science skills that he has as he shrunk down. He's figuring out how this thing is working and how they can defeat it. And nothing the Justice League was doing was actually making any headway. Nothing, until he came on the scene and was actually able to stop it and figure it out and neutralize that situation. So I don't want to go into that too much, because that is the cartoon. One of
But
the other
it's
things,
valid. It's a true representation of this hero, though,
right?
which goes to show the people that made that cartoon, they were huge fans of
Yeah.
the league.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, in the Blackest Night episode, I've actually got two. One of them, I'm sorry, I don't have the issue number because it screwed up my notes. He actually shrank down and went inside the Black Lantern's ring, and it was
Yeah.
describing it as he was going through that, and he actually managed to sever the connection from the ring to that user and was able to defeat a Black Lantern that way. Although it was good, but it was not efficient. It wasn't efficient enough, that type of situation, which led him to work on it more to find a better way to defeat them. And eventually, it was a combination of the Spectrum is what was beating these Death Lanterns, and he helped with the process of that. It also in the Black Lantern thing, in the series, he actually saves Mira and the Flash by dragging them through the
Mhm.
phone lines. So it's not just him that could do the
Yeah.
phone lines; he could pull people with him.
That's what
And
they call a party line.
And remember what he
This
told the mayor
1-900
too when
Yep.
they went through, and he's like, "Try and keep your eyes open this time. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool sight to see."
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's 1-900 dial Adam for a party line.
For a good time, call Ray.
Call Ray. But yeah, that's another badass moment I thought with that in there. And then this is like an overall badass moment. But you mentioned
Blackest Night is full of badass
it. Oh,
moments.
I know it is.
The
From a lot
whole
of
damn
characters.
series. Yes.
From a lot of characters. It really is.
I told Sal that I was like, I nearly put it on my recommended reading for Adam because I was like, he's, when I was going back and rereading, I was like, I forgot what a big part of that series he was.
Right. He's actually the one that I think that really turned the tide in that whole
Mhm.
whole series. I really do.
I
That's
think
how
so too.
I feel it. That's how I feel about it. But the other badass moment, or really general feeling I have for his badassery, is when people back him, like Batman or Mr. Terrific. They're like, "No, we want him on our side. We need him here." That alone speaks volumes. When you got like Mr. Terrific, Batman, and even Superman saying that you need to be here with us. So that's what I have for my badass moments. So
I like that. That's a very valid point. The fact that they so desperately wanted him and know they needed him.
Right.
Like Batman appealing to him. Ray, your students aren't just at the university.
Yeah.
We have students here.
We have students
Heroes.
here too.
We have heroes here that need your tutelage.
That's right, Booge. It did. More than
Blackest
just
Night
a
was
view.
amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
I also throw in too, his first appearance is kind of badass when he's on this spelunking trip with the kids, and there's the cave in, and it's the goofy Silver Ages. I just happen to be carrying this shrinking lens in my pocket with me because why not? But
he's a scientist.
knowing that everything that that he shrinks down explodes, he still shrinks himself down so he can go. Expand the school so we can go back and tell the kids, like, hey, I got you out. Even knowing, like, all right, because he even says it in the issue, is like, I got to get this done or I'm going to become unstable and explode. Knowing that, he still does it so that he can save this group of kids.
Right.
Like, that's real badass.
Oh, yeah.
That's badass in itself.
He knew that was a one-way trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely rolling the dice on that one. So, all right. So for our next segment is the critiques and criticisms. I'll go first on this one. There's not much I don't like about the Atom. I wish they utilized him more. And I don't even mind the fact that he wants to be a scientist first and then a brawler second. I don't mind that at all. I think that is a very good angle, and I wish they had expanded that more. Like his role in Blackest Night series was amazing, and I wish they could keep rolling with that in his own series. I would definitely be reading that. So I think he's very underutilized, and I think a lot of times the writers probably don't know how to use him properly. And then that's why he doesn't have a bigger, I don't want to say following, but a bigger pool maybe than like the Batman series or what have you going on type situation. So that's all I really have for that. How about you, Gary? What don't you like?
Well, when they used him on Legends of Tomorrow, they made him so goofy,
Yeah,
and the suit and
I didn't like that at all either.
It wasn't a great representation of him. They made him goofy. what I really didn't like in comics is when they de-aged him
Yeah.
and they put him with the Teen Titans. And yes, he was the leader of the Titans, and I just thought that was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the issues. It was okay, but it just, that wasn't Ray Palmer. So I didn't dig that. Even though, the sword and sorcery aspect of him, where he shrunk down, in his grief, he shrunk down and he did that. That is kind of more Hawkman like than Ray like, but I give that a pass because he was a guy that his whole world got shattered, and he went and did that through his, through the grief of his dissolution of his marriage.
Right.
But that's okay. I'm okay because those were cool stories, great art by Gil Kane, and cool stories. But the de-aging him and putting him on the Teen Titans, I was like, meh. So that's the part of his storyline I didn't dig so much.
Okay.
And
All right,
not
Dan.
using him enough. I'm like you. He needs to be more prominent.
Yep. I agree with that. All right, Dan, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely would like to see more of him. There is that new series coming out called The Adam Project. That's
Yes.
where it's part of the JLA, and it's him and Ryan
Choi
and Captain Adam. So hopefully that'll be good. But I just got to say I'm gonna buy it, but I also don't expect it to run a long time, just because he doesn't have a history of being able to have his own series. Yeah, his crazy wife. And there was a great part in Blackest Night where on this day where they go and honor like all the fallen heroes, and he was trying to get Carter to go to Jean's grave with him, and Carter absolutely refused. And he's saying, just like, please, I gotta do this. He's like, just move the phone away from your mouth so I can come through. And he goes like, no. And then he smashes the phone, and Hawkgirl's saying something to him like, why are you doing that? He was supposed to be your friend. And he goes, after what she did to Sue, and then what happened to Ralph, and I'm, I can't do it because he's my friend, because she did the one thing that no one else could ever do. She made the Atom feel small. And then the next panel is him shrunk down, sitting on the on the edge of the table, and it calls back to the end of Identity Crisis, where in his grief you just see him shrink and disappear
to nothingness. Yeah.
But yeah, I also don't like that they just don't utilize him enough. And I think it might be because a lot of these characters that are super smart like this, they don't have their own series that run that long, because it's outside of Iron Man, because it's hard to write characters like that. You got to be smart, and especially now, in the Silver Age, they could write it's a white dwarf star that powers his shrinking bell. You could get away with fudging it, but now you've got all these people that grew up reading these comics, that grew up. They're like, oh, I love the Atom. I'm going to grow up to be a scientist. I loved Indiana Jones. I'm going to grow up and be an archaeologist. That did this. You can't fudge the science on them anymore.
Yeah.
If you don't have your stuff right, they're gonna know, and they're gonna call you out on it. So I think that might be one aspect to it. I also think that DC doesn't really know what to do with the character, because there was the scientist thing, and and he had the girlfriend that they kind of switched it up, where the typically the woman would always be hounding the guy to get married. It was the opposite with it. He was hounding her to get married, and she kept turning him down because she wanted to focus on her career. And he was the scientist superhero, and then then that broke up, and then it was like the sword and sorcery type stuff. I almost thought it was reminiscent of Warlord with and definitely some of the design aspects of it, and they went that route, and then like, all right, now we're back to him being a superhero, and now we're going to de-age him so he can be part of the Titans, and now we're going to age him back up, and now we're going to do this, and now, like, it doesn't seem like they know that he's a good character, but they can't seem to figure out what to do to make him popular with everyone. So that's kind of annoying. And then when he had his Power of the Atom series, I didn't like how they took the top off of
his head. Yeah, the cowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like that design. Like that either. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
that's it.
That's mine.
Yeah, that's true, Boost. Very true. All right, let's go ahead then and to jump to top covers. And since Jamie is not with us tonight, he did submit information, and I'm going to show off his top covers first. Here we go. He has looks like Justice League was at 14.
Yes, that's when he joined the league. The Menace of the Bomb.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. And of course, he's got Brightest Day #1, the Atom Special, and Brave New World #1 as well. Oh, it's a one shot probably.
So the one on the left is a Murphy Anderson cover.
Yeah.
One in the middle is Gary Frank, and I'm not sure who did the cover, who did the art on the one on the right.
I want to say it looks like Ariel Olivetti, but I'm not 100%.
You know what? I'll buy that. Dan.
But I think that's the Ryan Choi Adam that's on the cover of that one.
I believe so.
Yeah, it is. That is Ryan.
I think are they both there? Are they both in that
series?
Yeah,
maybe that's behind him, or maybe he's growing or shrinking. I don't know.
All right. Let's see who's next then. That would be Dan. Dan, here comes your covers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, on the left, I've got the Adam 18 from his original series. I love the idea. I love when they do the covers and the images of him small and then interacting with something else of normal size, so you can see the difference. I almost did the one where he's strapped to the grenade.
Yeah.
But I like this one because that one, it's like something's bad happening to him, where this one, he's the one laying into the bad guy where he's jumping out of the safe. I just thought that was badass.
Dan, I do the same thing. There's some great ones where he's in trouble, but I'm like you. I'd rather highlight something where he's kicking ass.
Yeah. Yep. I just love the idea too of this bad guy opening up a little wall safe, and then all of a sudden here's a little guy that's going to come out and uppercut you.
Bam. That's right.
The middle one is Justice League of America 215. This is one of the ones where he is bigger than everyone else, though I believe this was the where everyone else was actually shrunk down and he was just not as small as them. But it kind of reminds me of the whole of like a Gulliver's Travel type of thing with it.
Yeah.
And just I believe that's a Perez cover too.
That is definitely a Perez cover.
And it's just,
Perez, master of the group shot.
Yes, he is.
And then the one all the way on the right is from Power of the Atom 2. While I just said I don't like the costume where they, that he had at the time, where it's his normal costume, but they, took the top off of his mask. I didn't like that, but I thought the cover itself was really cool, where it actually shows the effect of him, of him growing and shrinking on there.
I love that.
I like the Atom box in the bottom left where the barcode should be.
Yes.
Logo.
I like
yes,
that.
I do too.
Yeah, and it's got and it does have a great logo where it's got all the stuff going around Atom.
Yep.
But this series didn't run long. It only ran 18 issues.
I think 18. Yeah.
I think so. All right, let's see. Gary, you are next. Boom.
All right. So just like Dan, I had to go with some classic ones by Gil Kane. Let's start with the one in the middle. The one in the middle is significant because that is his first appearance. What a great first appearance cover, right? Look at that. I mean, you're sitting there.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That's the first appearance of the character. What a great cover. And it's, Gil Kane. I know on the interiors he had a lot of Murphy Anderson, who was a fantastic artist and inker, but I believe that cover was all Kane. So just what a great introduction to a character. I think it is fantastic. Showcase 34. I love that book, and it's just beautiful, bright colors. I have a really pretty copy, and I'm just, I'm thrilled to be able to own a book that is that cool. So as we're staying in the old school, the one on the far left, that is the Adam's own series. That's number 28. That is also Go-Go Checks. Absolutely. Got Go-Go Checks on it. And the Atom logo in there is pretty cool too, to the right of the A, or to the left of the A. I think that's cool. But that's just another example where he's in a little bit of trouble, but I just think it's cool, that saw blade coming after him while he's shrunk. and got some Kronos, his biggest arch foe like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
He fought him a lot back in the day.
Yeah, he sure did. He sure
Yeah.
did. So I just think that's a great classic Silver Age cover where Kronos is pushing the buttons, making that saw with the clock blade come after him, and he's Adam is maneuvering out of the way. And the one on the right is that what Jamie had, that great Gary Frank cover. And if you look closely, that is a lizard shooting out that sticky tongue, getting a bug. And
Looks like a Japanese beetle or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And the Atom is just getting out of the way.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I almost chose that that classic Atom one, the number what was the far left one? What is that number again?
That's Atom 28.
28. I almost chose those. I chose that one, but I did not, and I went with these.
Oh, great covers.
Yeah,
you didn't pick the Justice one.
Yeah. Yep. So I went with Adam and the Hawkman number 39 because I love the cover. He's on top of the tiger. He's throwing the statue at Hawkman, and the whole thing, the little blurb down below, suspension of the silver vulture. But as I first looked at this cover, it looked like the Maltese Falcon to me. And I just went, I went, okay, that's pretty badass, right?
That is Joe Kubert goodness right there.
I was about to say Joe Kubert. Well, very good stuff there. And then the middle one is Adam 31, and this is by Murphy Anderson.
Yeah.
But I like how they said this magazine's not big enough for two Adams, and he's punching them through the cover of the Atom. The background actually is like part of the comic,
Yep.
So that's pretty good. It reminds me of like Reverse Flash. As you can see, his costume is a little bit different, or a little bit almost opposite of what his is. But yeah, and then of course, then the last one there is Adam 36. This is the Gil Kane cover, but it reminds me of the Avengers where Ant-Man was on the Hawkeye's arrow, and he was being shot. But this is a lot more classic.
Slingshot.
He's got the slingshot action going on there, and that's just pretty cool. And then of course you got flaming arrows flying at Hawkman and him as well, and of course go-go checks at the top.
Gotta love the go-go checks.
Yep. So those are the covers I
look at you, that Silver Age goodness.
I know.
12 centers across the board. Way to go.
Yeah, I couldn't resist those.
I thought you were going to go with that Justice cover.
I almost did with the big eyeball.
Yes, the
one. The big eyeball one. Yep.
Yeah, I'll show it real quick, everyone.
That's the Alex Ross one.
Oh, that.
You know what? Let me take it out of the bag real quick.
Take it out of the bag. I'll get you big screen.
There's no glare. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
I almost chose that one, but I went with the classics.
Mm-hmm. That was a great series too. That Justice series.
Oh yeah,
it
was.
What a love letter to the Justice League of America.
So good.
Yep. All right. Before we jump to our next segment of essential readings, Gary, why don't you tell us about Comic Logic and where they can find issues of the Atom?
Comic Logic, baby. Look at that blue, man. Almost matches the Atom there. Comic Logic, Loudoun County, Virginia's only comic book store. Please come by and see us. We would love to see you. You catch me every Wednesday morning along with Mighty Mike Harbor, along with Rob Kalin. He's slinging books. Mike and I are going there getting our fix. We're getting that 4-color ink in them blood veins, putting it right in the blood so we can get strong. Because we lift them comic books. We lifted one book, then we lift the stack, then we lift the long box and stack them to the ceiling. Next thing you know, we are super strong. Do some push-ups too. Come see us. That's right. Come see us at Comic Logic. Also, if you see us on the 2nd and 4th Saturday of every month, you get to see Mr. Ken Hubbs there, who is well acquainted with Sal, the slab guy there, who does our submission Saturday, where he does he takes your books, he'll clean them, he'll press them, and then he'll submit them for you. So we offer that service too on the 2nd and 4th Saturday. So please come and see us. Loudoun County, Virginia's only comic book store, Comic Logic. We would love to make your acquaintance.
All right. Very good. Very good. And after you do that, go on over to the codexstation.com. Check us out there because we always got stuff there. We got stuff, meet the merch, we got Meet the Team, and so much more. And if you haven't clicked like, share, and subscribe on this, do so now. Come on, get us in that algorithm so that we could be showing this content to everybody. Because that's all we want to do. We want to show it to everybody. Everybody indeed. All right, let's go ahead then and jump to essential readings. And let me pull that screen back up here, and let's show off Jamie's first. So he went with Sword of the Atom, Identity Crisis, and The Brightest Day, the Atom Special. Good choices.
Yes, sir.
Good choices indeed. All right, Dan, you are up for recommended readings.
All right. Well, I also have Sword of the Atom. That consists of to get the complete story. It's the 4-issue miniseries Sword of the Atom, and then after that ended, they did 3 specials, Sword of the Atom specials 1, 2, and 3. So you need all 7 of those to get the full story of it. So, like Gary said earlier, him and his wife aren't doing well. He finds that she's cheating on him. So he says, look, I think we need to take a break from each other. I'm going to go try and find this white dwarf star that landed in the jungle. He ends up, getting stuck, shrunk down, and finds this alien race of tiny people there. And, it's this, like I said, to me, it reminded me a lot of Warlord, where it's this, sword fighting thing where there's also technology in it too, a mix of it. But yeah, it's a lot different than a lot of the other stuff. It's not what you would expect from the character, but it's a really good story. The next one is Lessons in Time. That's from the Legends of the DC Universe series, issues 40 and 41, which I believe were actually the last 2 issues of that series.
They were. Yep. And I used one of them for the cover of the day today.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And so in this one, he is fighting Kronos, who is a longtime Atom villain. And, Kronos manipulates time. The Atom is also a character that was known to, go through the time stream and go back in time to just kind of observe stuff too. So I like, this is a good classic Atom story. And I like that it's also showing not just the superhero side of him, but the teaching side of him, because it is, showing him as a professor trying to reach out and reach this kid that is just not interested in paying attention or doing the work. And he keeps trying to push him, and he's not interested. And Snapper Carr, who is, one of the most annoying characters that has ever been created, was actually good in this story, and kind of became a pseudo student to the Atom, and helped make him feel better about his role as a teacher. And I thought that was a really cool one. But my favorite one is the final one on here, Nucleus. So that consists of, and it's disappointing that DC has not collected this into one volume, because it ran through 3 different things. It started in Brightest Day, the Atom Special, which led into Adventure Comics 516 to 521. It was the backup story in all those issues. And then after 521, there was Giant Size Atom for 1 issue, which tied the whole story up. So the story ran through all of those issues, and you have to read all of them, to get the full story. But it kind of retells his origin, like I was saying earlier, where it kind of retconned a couple things, added some stuff to it, added some family aspects to it. It's got a good team up with him and Hawkman in it. Him going against this shadowy intelligence agency trying to get his tech. It's written by Jeff Lemire, and again, it just proves to me that while I do not like Jeff Lemire's art, he is an outstanding writer.
Yes, he is.
This was just such a really, really great read. And like I said, I'm disappointed that DC, since it ran through so many different things, I'm disappointed that DC has not collected it into one trade, because it would be worth it.
It would be a great volume. And what was the lead story in that Adventure Comics run?
Oh, that was Legion of Superheroes.
What, the Legion of Superheroes?
What? Legion of Superheroes?
That's right, baby. That's right.
And you know what, Booze? Yeah. And all of these issues, none of them are expensive. Most of these issues you can get out of dollar bins.
Yeah, yes,
Nice.
And really cool cover, good art on. Sal, that is a great slide right there. Good job on that.
Yeah,
That
thank
was
you.
Great. Yep.
Yeah, Lemire wrote the Nucleus story, so it was
Yep.
the Brightest Day special, the backup story from Adventure Comics 516 to 521, and Giant Size Adam.
Very good. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and jump to Gary and see what you got.
All righty. Well, I have Identity Crisis on there, and
Oops.
that had a lot of parts
Spelling
to
error.
it. That had a lot of parts to it. That a wide cast of characters, but the Atom and his relationship is central to this. This is not a feel-good Atom story. This
No.
is quite tragic, but I think it's an important part of who this character is and what he's gone through. And anybody that reads Identity Crisis and doesn't get the feels, you need to check your pulse, baby, because there's some, I'm not gonna lie. I read this series and I had a few tears running down. It was so well done.
Yes.
Brad Meltzer, who I've met in person, I have a copy right here with me out of Identity Crisis that that Rags Morales and Brad Meltzer signed for me. I love this book, and it's one of the books I like to recommend to people that think comics are kids stuff.
No, this is not for kids. And I remember when this came out, this was a very controversial series when it came out. A lot of people didn't like it. Me as an Atom fan, it was one of the later issues in it where it ended the issue making you think that the Atom was the killer.
Yep.
I was mad for an entire month. I bought the issue the day it came out, and I read it, and I spent the entire month pissed off and mad at DC. Be like, these I was like, they better not do this to my boy. This is some bullshit. And then I read the next issue, and I was like, okay, they did. But I was legit pissed off at DC Comics for a month.
Look, what a great whodunit. And Brad Meltzer is amazing. That's why, Chris, you're right. That's why he's an amazing novelist. This is how good that dude is. So kudos to him.
Yes.
So that is Identity Crisis would be, if I was recommended books to people that weren't into comics, that is in my top 5 to recommend. It's that good. JLA 27 is the aforementioned book where I read portions of it, where he comes up with that ingenious plan how to stop Amazo. Just simple. He's a guy that gets things done, that figures shit out, and that's what he does, and that's what he did in that book. It is wonderful. It is fun. It is charming. JLA 27, one of my favorite single issue reads ever. It's just that much fun. And then Legends of Tomorrow was an Atom trade paperback that was kind of an eclectic mix of things, which is why I think it's good essential reading, because in it you get Showcase 34, which is the first appearance. You get Secret Origins 29, which was the Atom issue. You get the Atom special. You get Giant Sized Atom 1, and you get Justice League of America, the Atom Rebirth, which focused on Ryan Choi. So I think you get a lot of Atom content and essential reading in that one volume. So I think that's why that's a great primer to get into the character with.
I agree, and I almost chose that one as one of my readings.
Yeah.
That was a good one. All right, so let's go ahead and jump to my readings then.
It sure was, Booge.
Booge. Yeah, it was.
And it painted a great case for why, a good in-universe reason for why Dr. Light went from being a legit villain to kind of being a joke.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. So for my must reads, I also chose Sword of Atom 1 through 4. I don't think I really need to dive into any more on that. Dan covered it pretty well. I only will, say that it really is a different tone compared to the typical superhero comics. I think, and it's just a change of his his persona. Where he was giving up being the Atom and turned into tried something else. Type situation. So it was really good of identity and transformation for Ray Palmer. So I like that. It was good. Next one is the Adam Rebirth, the 2006 version. This is by Jeff Johns, and this is explores when Ray Palmer returns to action after being absent, and he's revealed to being spent the time in a microscopic dimension type situation. But Jeff Johns always writes good stuff, and this was a very good read. So definitely check this one out. The last one I have is Adam 13. Now I had to throw this one in because this is an old school one. This is way back when. This is when it came out, what, 64, I want to say. But this is classic Silver Age story. There's a robbery. He's not fighting some super villain. He's not fighting, a menace that's going to destroy the universe. He's fighting just a regular old bad guy that's a diamond thief, and he's using his brain to defeat him before knocking his lights out. That type situation. And I like that. It was very old school, but it was still interesting and worthy of a read. And he gets uses some trickery to get the capture crooks to give away their accomplices and their hidden location. Classic Silver Age stuff.
Look at you doing Silver Age covers.
I know.
Silver Age story.
Crazy, isn't it?
You weren't even born then. I was born then. You weren't born then. Look at that.
Nope. I was 5 years later. 5 years later.
Yeah, I was 64. I know. But look at you going Silver Age. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Not a foil cover in sight.
Not a foil cover in sight. My God.
He was foiled again. Not
curses. Foiled again. And that's something they would say in the Silver Age. Curses. Foiled again.
I mean, there were some goofy stories that came, not just with Adam. There was the one story where he was trying to stop these thieves from stealing a bottle collection. It wasn't just with the Adam, though. Like, the Silver Age in general had some goofy stories in it, but it had some really great ones, too.
Yeah, very true. Very true. But I don't want to say as goofy as that was, because I don't think it was too goofy. I just like the fact, really brought me to that issue was the fact that he's not fighting a guy that's going to destroy the universe. He's not fighting a guy that's going to kill everybody. Mm-hmm. He's fighting a stupid diamond thief. Oh, thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Listen, comics are supposed to listen. Here's a little secret.
Here's a little secret.
Comics are allowed to be fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're allowed to be fun. They don't always.
And that was fun.
Listen, we love grim and gritty and emotional, but you know what? It could be fun. It could be a little guy in a little chair floating over the Justice League table, and it's all right.
Yep, exactly. And that's probably also what I liked about it, is that it wasn't over heavily with dialogue. I didn't need to, have input from other issues. It was nice little contained story. Bada bing, bada boom. Bob's your uncle. You're done.
You go. That's right. And the diamond thief didn't have to have an extensive backstory about how he was abused.
No, he's a diamond thief. Who cares?
He was just greedy. He wanted money. He wanted diamonds.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, let's use that and move on to our next segment of Best Writer and Artist. And Gary, why don't you go first on this one?
Well, Sal, you have set the tone.
Uh-oh.
And this will match that tone.
All right.
We're going old school.
Yes.
We're going
I'm old school too.
We're going Gardner Fox, baby.
Ooh.
Gardner Fox, co-creator. Also, Justice Society, co-creator, Justice Society, baby, wrote all those tales. Gardner Fox is just, I think he may be the greatest comic writer that we do not acknowledge.
Yeah.
What he did, the breadth of work he did from the Golden Age to the Silver Age. He was the originator of JSA, and then he is also the JLA originator. Yeah, and what he did with those teams, what he did with the original heroes. Gardner Fox is a damn hero. And again, I believe he's the best writer that we do not celebrate as being one of the greatest writers in comics history.
I gotta agree with that.
He is that influential. And then let's go with another co-creator.
Let's do it.
Gil Kane.
Yes.
Gil Kane is the artist. Those great old school covers were Gil Kane covers. And I have to give a lot of love to Murphy Anderson, who did a lot of the inking for him too.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that helped. That Adam, those Adam books, they were so clean. The art
Yeah.
style was just clean. It was gorgeous. It was inventive, like y'all had said tonight. How he uses the things around him to catapult himself, and to
Mhm.
pencils are weapons, and ties are weapons, and phones are weapons. How he uses these things that when he's in miniature he can catapult himself off of, and it's just brilliance. So Gardner Fox writing, arts Gil Kane with Murphy Anderson's inks.
All right. Very good. All right, Dan, you're next. What do you got? Bob is my uncle.
That's right.
I'm glad he's your uncle then.
Oh shit! Oh, thank
Oh,
you,
no.
thank you, Chris.
Murphy Brown Lantern.
Lantern.
I'm gonna go a little more new school with it. I was, for writer, this was a tougher one for me, but ultimately, because of how much I like that nucleus story, I went with Jeff Lemire. I like how he not so much updated the Adams origin; he kept the essence of it, the original, but added a couple little things in it to kind of flesh it out more, and not just make it like, oh, this guy who's a scientist who is doing experiments in shrinking stuff, just happens to find this this thing that fell from space that'll happen. Like, he made it tied up a little more. I thought was good, and I thought it was a really great story that could have led into a regular series that would have been good.
And he gave him family ties in that one too.
Yeah, family, stuff with the dad.
Yep, kind of like what they did with Guy Gardner, where they fleshed
Exactly.
that character out more when they gave him family.
Yes. Yeah, the stuff with the father and the brother that they didn't really understand him, and him reconnecting with the father, then the uncle, like and the whole stuff with that that secret group too. The colony, like they could have done an Adams series that went running with that, and it would have been great. But maybe that was a plan. They just didn't go with it. I don't know, but I would have liked to have seen that. So I went with Lemire. And then for artist, I was so close to picking Gil Kane, but I went with Ivan Rice because I liked how he drew him in
Blackest Night. Yep.
But Gil Kane drawing, because not just drawing like the Silver Age stuff too, but all the way up into the modern age, with like Sword of Adam and that stuff, he was really good as well. And then, then you can't match Perez on Justice League.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, not at all. But I go back to Gil Kane, that first Showcase 34, that first cover.
Yes.
What an introduction to a character. That is such. He grew up because of an atomic penis pump accident. Jesus Christ.
Wow, Chris.
Wow, Chris is
Save that for after dark, buddy.
Chris, listen. The best writers come from personal experience, so I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing there.
You guys are gonna have a fun ride or drive around on Saturday.
Dude, I have to tell you a story about where he literally. No, I can't tell that story.
Okay.
Yeah,
Save for after dark.
the statute of limitations has not run out. I cannot tell you that story.
All right.
So what about you, Sal? Who did you pick?
So I was close to doing Murphy Anderson and Gil Kane. Gary, two of my covers were right there. What you chose, and I actually went with Joe Kubert as my artist.
Okay.
And
Can't go
for
wrong.
writer,
Yeah.
what's that?
I said you can't go wrong with Kubert.
Cannot. And for best writer, I went with Grant Morrison. I really did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, those are the ones my favorite.
Listen, everybody mentioned has been a great writer. I'm glad Dan gave love to Jeff Lemire, because Jeff Lemire is a hell of a writer.
Yes.
Suck ass artist, but a hell of a writer. Listen, Sal, one of the first books I turned you on to was Swamp Thing Green Hell. Jeff Lemire wrote that. That book was amazing.
That book was amazing.
And if he had done the art, that book would have been
crap.
Well,
Well, that book had like extreme like art in that one with all the violence and that
Yankee.
thing.
Oh my
Yankee, yeah.
god.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah.
god, that was so good. Listen, like I said, and I know Jeff Lemire is an artist, and I get that, and a lot of that is reflected in his storytelling. He can tell stories with an artistic mind. It's just I just don't dig his art. Some people do. I just
Nothing wrong with that. There's
Can't.
nothing wrong with that.
That's right. It's subjective, but here it seems the three of us are on the can't list with it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And the great thing too, Booge, like Gary said, when you buy those issues of Adventure Comics, you're not just getting the cool Adam backup story. You're getting the main story, which is Legion of Superheroes.
yeah,
Very true.
Those were great issues, and like Dan was saying, that you find them in the dollar bins a lot of time, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys. I think that does it. I think we can talk enough about the Atom. I think we've done a good job. Excellent covers, excellent stories, and of course, excellent badass moments from you guys. It was just amazing. Thank you so much for joining me tonight and doing this. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Yes, you too, Chris. Thank you very much for your input tonight. always get a nice shocker out of you once or twice.
Chris,
You need to make sure to get some video of your guys' adventures on Saturday and send it to Sal so he can edit it together for a
because that shit's called evidence.
Yeah.
No,
don't do that. We don't want to do that.
No, that's evidence. No.
All right, Dan, tell everybody where they can find you at before we get out of here.
You can find me on Instagram at Dan Kelly Art. I post the stuff like that book or like this Joker sketch cover that is autographed.
Look at this guy. Look at the talent.
Yes.
Well, we will be announcing who the winner of this is on the Codex Awards on January. I want to say 4th. January 4th.
4th, I thought, yeah.
Yep, Saturday, January 4th. We're going to be going live with the Codys for this year, and that will be auctioned off on there, or not auctioned off. We're not selling it, but
yeah.
And if you don't buy Dan Kelly art, we're sending Chris to your house.
That's right. Chris will come to your house, and we won't talk about
it. Thanks. Booze, you're right. This was a good show. This was a great character. I'm glad.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm glad we talked about this character. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yes, indeed. All right, Gary, why don't you tell everybody really quick where they can find you?
If you're really looking, if you've turned over every rock in your neighborhood, you don't see me, then come Comic Logic, baby. Loudon County, Virginia's only comic book store. If you're in the Northern Virginia area, please come see us at Comic Logic. We would love to make your acquaintance. Also, let's give some love to the Comic Character of the Day site where we are all acquainted from. I do the cover of the day. Dan does a great random panel of the day, great question of the day. Sal's always making sure we're giving you the content you deserve. Founded by our good buddy Archduke Kevy, who's also founded another spot online called Safe Space, where if you want to talk to people that have your back and that can have some compassion and some love for you, that is a space to go. Archduke Kevy doing the angels work there. So
right, you just need something to vent to get off your chest. Go there because you'll find nothing but support and love.
That's
just
right.
Don't let Chris try and touch your safe space.
Yes.
Well, see, but that's not his fault. His uncle touched his.
Yeah. His Uncle Bob.
His Uncle Bob.
All right, folks. I'm your late host of the night tonight, but I am. You can always find me on YouTube under Sal's Comic Corner and Instagram as the Slab Guy 77. But one more thing before we get out of here, Gary, what do we have and what do we want to give away?
Anybody that's hung out with Chris like we have, you just know we have all the socials, and we would love nothing better than to give them to you.
Absolutely. Then after we're done doing that, let's head over to thecodexstation.com. Check us out, meet the team, get some merch, and there's so much more. It's an awesome website designed by this guy right over here, Mr. IT.
No, I can't even point the right way.
Can't even point in the right direction. No, folks. This guy over here did it. This guy over here did it.
The slab guy in the Slabatorium. That's what he creates.
Live from the
He's the mad scientist, and he does all that.
That's right. So go head over to thecodexstation.com and check that out. All right. I guess we are out of here, folks. We will see you guys Saturday night for Comics Unleashed After Dark. I will be out that episode because I got some doing some family time at Hershey Park and just spending the night doing some Christmas lights and stuff like that. So I will not be there, but I will be there in spirits.
And who you got to tell people who we have next week?
And then for next week, we have Union Jack and our special guest star, Mighty Mike Harbor. There it is,
Right.
gaping holes.
Union
Union
Jack,
Jack.
baby.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And Mighty Mike Harbor is going to join us for that one. So
You
that
want to
should
be you want to be on for Union Jack. You don't want to be Union Jack off.
Nope.
Yeah.
Do not want to be off for that.
No.
No, sir.
And then
Bob.
remember, Jamie on Monday or Monday, the Barry Kitson interview I did is going up.
Yep.
And then Tuesday, Jamie is going to be interviewing Omar from Near Mint Condition, which, like I said, he's got a follower too. So
Yeah.
Yes, he
it should
does.
be a lot of fun.
Yes, he does. Yeah, that should be great. I'm looking forward to your Kitson interview as well because you always do good interviews.
Yes, he does.
He's
amazing.
He's such a super nice guy. Not, I mean, I did this interview, but I've talked with him over the years at conventions and online too, because he also plays guitar. And we've talked about like what kind of guitars we have and other stuff. He's just such a super, and his wife Caitlin too. Both of them, they're just such nice people.
Oh yeah, they're so
That's
sweet.
great.
I have that Spectre piece that I got from him that is
Yeah.
so cool. That original art. I mean, not
Yeah.
original comic art, but an original sketch from him.
Nice.
So good.
Nice. All right, then, folks. We will see you next week or this Saturday, depending
Yeah.
on what your
Yeah.
schedule is. I hope you guys have a 9.8 day.